Malik and Malika Contest is actually a very beautiful and inspiring one, actually. One of the constant issues in the history of the Build organization throughout its years was maintaining its finances. It was always fundraising, always trying to find ways to keep its door open, whether it be through the selling of raffle tickets or the bingo games that they used to have at New Skateland. Ever since they broke off, when they broke off from the Industrial Areas Foundation in the mid 1960s, and they kind of went off on their own and kind of blasted their 10-year period that the Industrial Areas Foundation gave all the organizations they helped organize. It was always a case of the Build organization trying to find ways to keep its doors open. And in the midst of this great new ambitious and somewhat scary venture that they had never done before called the Juneteenth Festival, something that many of the members were at that time, a couple years prior to 1976, just learning about. It became a case once again where they had to find a way to not only finance the festival itself, but to keep the organization afloat. And one of the significant efforts they came up with was that of the Malik and Malika Contest, and which, of course, is king and queen, as you all should know. But the Malik and Malika Contest was conceptualized for the very first Juneteenth Festival of 1976. And the criteria for the contest was no different from many of the other pageants of that nature that you see going on today. The criteria was basically it depended on how many ads you sold. So they go out into the community. It was geared mainly towards the youth of the community. It's always geared towards the youth, young people of the community. And particularly those youth that were the most community related, active in the community, associated with different organizations, be it the CAO or what have you. And so you sold ads, and they had a number of young sisters and young brothers that competed in that contest. And whoever sold the most ads won, of course. And the two winners of that contest, who became the very first inaugural Malik and Malika, the king was a gentleman by the name of Arthur Cowboy Poe. He was a young up-and-coming business owner in the Buffalo area at that time. He owned an establishment called the Midnight Cowboys Lounge. And the young sister who became the very first Malika of Juneteenth was a young lady by the name of Ruby Highsmith. And she had some association with many individuals at the CAO at the time who encouraged her to run. And the event itself was held at the New Skateland Arena. I believe it was also held between New Skateland and the Vermilion Room, which is pretty much both in the same building. And it was a beautiful event, and of course I'm sitting here talking like I was actually there. I was not. But just speaking on it from just looking at the many photographs of it that I saw throughout the years, it was certainly a beautiful Afrocentrically based event. People were dressed to the nines. Today where everybody's talking about the Black Panther film and Wakanda Forever and everything, let me tell you, that might have been Wakanda in 1976 up there in New Skateland. You never know. But everybody was beautifully dressed in African garb, and some people were kind of had the little wingtips, and my dad actually jokingly called it like a player's ball. So it was almost like you could almost call it a Afrocentric player's ball or something to that level. But one of the things that was just so positive about it was you have to remember at that particular time during the 1970s, actually it started and originated back in the 1960s, but it went on throughout the 70s. We were starting to become proud of who we were. That was the time of Black is Beautiful and Soul Power, and had our natural hair and getting in touch with our roots. And when I did my research of Build, and even coming up in it as a child, that was the biggest thing that stood out to me about it. And I think that's what many of us just used to just love about that particular time. That's why we enjoy reflecting on those particular times so much, because it was a time when we were really, we were proud to be who we were at a time when it wasn't considered popular to be. We were embracing who we were. And, the contest continued, the Malik Malika Contest continued throughout the years, throughout the early 1980s. I think it might have died out, I think around the mid-80s or something like that. But I can recall when I first joined the Juneteenth committee in 1998, I had just completed doing the Build documentary, and being the young, ambitious, young professional that I was at the time, I had it in my head to attempt to bring back the Malik Malika Contest, and never really happened because I kind of got sidetracked into like public relations and doing stuff throughout my career and my profession. So that never really came from me. But I can't tell you how proud I am today to see the people that are on the Juneteenth festival that are now holding forth and coming up with their own ideas. And, by research, and some have said they've looked at my Build documentary, they've been inspired to bring back the Malik Malika Contest. And so if you look at some of the photographs I've taken over the past 5 years or so, you will see pictures and images of the Malik and Malikas of the past few years. And it's been just it's been very, very inspiring, and it's really, on a personal note, it's really warmed my heart to see that aspect from the very first Juneteenth. It's not on Jefferson anymore. Of course, we all would love to see it there. I'd love to see it myself, but to see them make an effort to bring the Malik and Malika Contest, and to be able to crown, the fact that we're crowning a new king and queen of Juneteenth every year is a very proud moment for me as someone who's grown up with that festival from the time of its inception. So I want to send a big shout out and much respect to the board of directors and all the committee members and the people that put in their hard work every year to bring the Juneteenth to Buffalo. And it's the third largest festival in our city. It's definitely something to be proud of. And when I'm out there and I encounter people that come from other cities, they always ask me, how can we get Juneteenth in our city? So that to me is one of the greatest things to be proud of, and it's so wonderful to see. You see the current kings and queens and Maliks and Malikas crowned, and just like I'll run into Arthur Poe and Ruby Highsmith to this day. They'll walk around like they're still the king and queen of Juneteenth, and you see our young people that get crowned, they do the same thing. So it's definitely, like I said, it's definitely something to be proud of. God bless the Juneteenth Committee.